Hi everyone, welcome to our 7.2 lesson. We're looking at how to rearrange an equation that's not in slope-intercept form into slope-intercept form. So I'll get you to have your 7.2 notes out and let's go ahead. So recall slope-intercept form is this form y equals mx plus b, and it has to be written just like this, in this order. So y is isolated. It's on its own on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So nothing else is over on the side with y except y, okay? It also has to be 1y. So we can't, if we have another number like 2y or 3y, we have to divide, okay, or we have to somehow undo. So if it's 2y, for example, I have to divide by 2 to get rid of that 2. Okay, if it's something else like a half y, I might have to multiply by 2. But I need to get it to be 1y is equal to mx plus b, and the m here is my slope. That's my slope. And the b is our y-intercept. That's the point where the line crosses the y-axis. And remember that your b is going to be a constant. In other words, a constant is just a number. So this is going to be the number that is not attached to x. So when we see a number, for example, here, 3x, that I know is my mx, my slope there. Okay, I want to get it into the right order, but I know that the 3 is referring to my slope. So my slope is going to be either positive or negative 3. Okay, I just have to move it into the correct place. And I know that that 8 there is going to be my b value. So it's going to be the number all by itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So sometimes an equation is not in the correct order, such as here. Okay, y equals mx plus b. It's not in that order and I need to rearrange it. I need to move things around so that I have y equals mx plus b slope-intercept form. So always start by thinking about what order you want to get them in. So you want y to be by itself, mx plus b. Okay, like that. So the first thing we want to do is look at this and say, well, there's my y. Okay, that's my y, and I have one y, that's great. This must be my mx right here, and this must be my b. Well, let's see what's wrong with this. If I compare it to my slope-intercept form, okay, y is on the left-hand side of the equal sign, so that looks okay. I just need to get the mx and the b on the same side. So I need to move this guy right here. I need to move him over to this side. Okay, that's what I need to do. And so let's go ahead and do that. There's two ways to handle this rearrangement. Okay, the first way is that if I have something on one side of an equation and I want to move it to the other, I simply have to look at it and I need, in this case, this is a positive 3x on the left-hand side. If I want to move it over to the other side, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. I know that I have to subtract it from the left side where the y is because I want to remove it. I want to get rid of it. And the only way to remove 3x from this side is to subtract it. Because I have a statement with an equal sign, this is called an equation, anything I do to one side, I have to do to the other side so that it stays equal. So if I subtract 3x from one side, I have to subtract it from the other side as well, which is great because it actually moves it over for us. So now what we have is y is equal to 8 minus 3x. Let's put the negative 3x in front of the 8 just so that it matches our equation. Okay, so there's a negative sign in front of that 3. It needs to stay with it. So we have 3x plus positive 8 here. Okay, plus 8. 8 minus 3x is the same as negative 3x plus 8. I've just moved these around so that they are in the correct order. So now it is in slope-intercept form. Okay, and now I can see that my slope is equal to negative 3 over 1. There's my rise and my run. And my y-intercept, b, is equal to 8. Notice before, when it was out of order, it looked like my slope was a positive 3 over 1, and that's not correct. Once I get it in order, I can see that my slope is actually negative. Okay, So I need to have x all on at the other side of the equal sign. Okay, y must be isolated by itself. There's another way that we could do this. So for this same question, okay, I'm just going to come over here. This is called the export method, and it's sort of a shortcut. When you have to rearrange an equation where there's addition and subtraction, you can also just export something over to the other side. So if we start from the same equation that we were given, 3x plus y equals 8, if you think about your equal sign sort of like a wall, okay, between the left and the right hand side, again, I compare this equation to this one, and I see that I just need to get this 3x to the other side. Okay, it literally just needs to go right there, and I would be okay. I would be happy if I could just get it over to the other side. Okay, well, the export method says you can take something over to the other side if we have addition and subtraction happening, okay, in my equation. Another way of subtracting 3x from both sides is to say, let's just move it over to the other side, but you must change its sign. Okay, so okay, so you can move a term to the other side, okay, of the equal sign, but okay, you must, and I'm running out of room here, sorry, you must change the sign. So if it's a positive 3x as it is over here, if I want to bring that over to the other side, I have to write that as a negative 3x. So what I'll get is y is equal to, I'm just going to put that negative 3x in front of the 8 right away to get it in order. So it becomes a negative 3x plus 8, because 8 was still over there. So I have to keep that 8 there. Okay, it's plus 8. So that's the export method. Do whichever one works for you. This is a good method as long as you remember that you can only export things over and change their sign if you are, the only operation that we have here is addition and subtraction. Okay, it's just a shortcut. So instead of subtracting 3x, I've literally just moved it and I've made it negative, which is the same as subtracting it. Okay. Let's do a couple more. So the next one I have here is 2/3 x plus y minus 10 equals 0. Okay, again, I want it to look like this. Y equals mx plus b. So let's go ahead and identify who I have here. Well, the 2/3 x, the number that's being multiplied by x must be my m. There's my mx right there. Okay, there's my y. And this number all by itself here must be my b, and everything's been moved over to the left-hand side. So there's nothing on the right-hand side except 0 here. Okay, that's all that's left. So I need to move my mx over to this side, and I also have to move my b value over to this side. So two things need to be moved over. I need to isolate y. And there's actually, again, two ways you could do this. One way would be just to go ahead and move them over. So let's go ahead and do that. The other way would be to just move y over. That works as well, but let's look at that in a moment, okay? Let's start with moving over the mx and moving over the b value. So we've got 2/3 x plus y minus 10 equals 0, okay? And I want to move my 2/3 x over to the other side, so I subtract it. Okay, 2/3 x subtracted from that side, and I also subtract it from this side. Okay, so it's now gone on the left. Great. I also have to get rid of the negative 10 on the left side. I want to move that negative 10 over to the other side. So if I have to get rid of negative 10 on the left, I need to undo that by, I need to add 10. I'm trying to cancel it, so I'm trying to get 0 on the left-hand side. So if right now it's y minus 10, I'm going to add 10 to cancel it. And I also have to do the same thing over here. I have to add 10. Okay, so my final answer is now I'm left with y all by itself on the left. Positive y equals well, I don't need to write 0 minus 2/3 x plus 10. This 0 really doesn't need to be there now that there's something on the right-hand side. So I can just write 2/3 x plus 10. Okay, there's my answer. The export method works as well. So if you want to move, let's do the same question with the export method. So 2/3 x plus y minus 10 equals 0. Okay, let's go ahead and export this guy over to the other side. Okay, so if I export him over to the other side, he becomes negative 2/3 x. I'm sorry. Okay, negative 2 over 3x, so it's gone on the left-hand side. And I could also go ahead and export that 10 over. It's a negative 10 on the left, so it'll be gone, and it'll become positive 10 on the other side. And then again, I could go ahead and clean that up. That's y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 10. Okay, and there's my final answer. Those are both the same, no matter which way I go. The other option that you have for this particular question, because equations can be rearranged many different ways, it might have been also quite easy for us just to move the y over to the other side, and then we could have flipped it because then y would be isolated. So one last method here. Okay, I'm just going to come up here. So one last method for this one, just to show you how many ways there are to rearranging something, is 2/3 x plus y minus 10 equals 0. Okay, finally, the last thing I could have done is just said, well, if this y was on the other side, I would have mx and b all together on one side. Really what I want to do is isolate y. So if you had moved your y over to the other side, in other words, you subtract y from both sides to get rid of it on the left, you would get 2/3 x minus 10 equals negative y. And we could have said, well, I want positive y here. So I could go ahead and either divide through by negative 1 or multiply through by negative 1, because doing that will cancel the negative. I need to get rid of this negative y. So how do I undo that? Well, I divide by negative 1. Okay, or if it's just 1 here, I can also multiply, okay, everything by negative 1. So I can either divide everybody by negative 1 or multiply everybody by negative 1, and that will cancel out the negative y. So if I do that, I'll get positive y here. Negative 1 times negative y is positive y. My negative 10 will change to a positive 10. And my 2/3 x, which is positive, will change to negative 2/3 x when I multiply it by negative 1. And now if I just flip these, I have y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 10. Okay, and that's also a correct way to do it. So there's more than one way that we can go ahead and do that. Let me do just this last example with you. Actually, I think I'm just going to pause it right now. I'll do the last example with you, and then I'm going to do one challenging example as well, in case you'd like to do the challenge questions. So join me for a really quick video after this. Thanks for joining me now.